We are no longer slaves to the whims of fate. I will fight. And if I die knowing that I have made the choice.
You alone may change what is to come. Go!
War means the death of us all. It is too late for us. But not for you.
What up, Jippers? L-Play's back, and today we're shining the Jip light on some new and very exciting news. Kingdoms of Amalur is back, baby! For those that don't know, Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning was a game that released back in 2012 on PS3, Xbox 360 and PC. It was developed by 38 Studios, and originally the game was planned to be an MMO, but it actually ended up being a really solid single-player action RPG with a beautifully bright and interesting fantasy art style. I remember trying to tell people about this game back when I was originally playing it and absolutely loving it, and the way I described it back then still seems like quite a good way to summarize the feel of the game for anyone who's currently wondering whether or not it's the kind of thing that they'd be looking for personally. Essentially, the game feels a bit like a cross between Fable and the Elder Scrolls series, a brighter, more fairy tale inspired Oblivion or Skyrim type of game. It had some really beautiful locations, really cool art style, and some really nifty weapons that mixed it up quite a bit when you put it side by side with your like standard sword and axe RPG that was just dominating the genre at the time. I remember using some really cool like magically infused chakram type weapons. They were just so much fun and a real breath of fresh air at the time, and I just generally loved the super colourful art style and heavy fantasy vibe that the game had. It just seemed really unique and different at the time, and a lot more focused on fun than being that serious, gritty role-playing game that we were getting a lot of back then. The game was actually fairly well received when it launched. It did get some mixed reviews, but a lot of people did give positive reviews of the game. It even ended up getting a couple of perfect 10 out of 10s at the time, which I remember just being blown away by. It did have really cool visuals, solid RPG gameplay, and some cheesy as heck, but generally pretty fun story to the game, and I remember it being praised quite a lot of the time because it allowed you to freely chop and change your playstyle and the character class that you played with. And back then that was actually quite a big deal that a lot of other RPGs didn't really do. So typically if you played as like a sword wielding tank type character, that was the progression that you had to stick with for the whole game, whereas Kingdoms of Amalur let you kind of change it up a bit, and if you wanted to try out magic you could, if you wanted to switch to the chakrams you could, if you wanted to go and be the big giant axe wielding tank, you could kind of do that freely at any point in the game and always get really cool and exciting gear to make that work. So that was really cool, and one of the things it definitely got right. It never really hit the big time. Sales didn't ever really come close to Skyrim or Oblivion or anything like that, but it did capture me personally, and I still quite often find myself thinking about the game even now. I guess it was one of those games that was almost like a hidden gem that didn't quite get the attention that it deserved. I actually ended up playing through it a couple of times, and I remember when I finished my university course, I had actually finished up everything a couple of months before we were due to end, so I was still living at uni and I didn't have any work to do, and this was the game that me and one of my friends at the time just played non-stop, completely solid for a good couple of weeks, just pounding down energy drinks and eating junk food and just sitting in our rooms with like 2 TVs just playing this game together. And that, even to this day, is still one of my favourite ever gaming memories. It was just such a good time, and it's definitely a game that I've got a lot of nostalgia and fondness for when I look back at it. I've actually always been a bit sad that there never ended up being a sequel to Kingdoms of Amalur or another game or a remake or anything like that, because it was really good. It was the only game they'd ever brought out, and it was just such a bright and interesting world that they could have built so much more onto, but it was not to be. What a jip. The game in fact ended up being the only game ever released by 38 Studios before they did end up going bankrupt, and I've never heard any more about it really since then. Until now. And this is the exciting bit, because the Kingdoms of Amalur IP has just been acquired by THQ Nordic, the game studio that have worked on all kinds of games, things like Biomutant, Darksiders, Zoo Tycoon, Quantum Break, loads and loads of different games. And that of course means there is a very, very real chance that we might actually get to see one of my favourite games make a glorious return on the current generation, or maybe even the next gen of consoles, with a remake or remaster or even a sequel, which would be super freaking awesome. There hasn't been any official announcement or word from THQ yet on what they actually plan to do with the IP, and if they are going to make a new game, or even if they are just going to update and remake and remaster it for this generation of consoles, it's probably going to be a little way off, but I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out to see what comes next from Kingdoms of Amalur, and I encourage anyone who missed it completely back then to definitely go and check it out too, and let me know what you think about the game. I personally am very excited about this news, and I wanted to make sure you guys knew about it too, because I've got a feeling that many of you probably don't even know what this game is or was, and wouldn't be paying attention or even care about this even if you do hear about this news somewhere else. So hopefully you enjoyed this one, or at the very least found it useful. It's a blast from the past for me, and also now an exciting one that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. So I just had to shine the Jip light on it for you guys too. If you did enjoy this video and you want to see me make more stuff like this for other games, please remember to drop a like and a comment, and maybe even share the video too. That stuff really does make a huge difference for smaller channels like mine. And of course, I appreciate it a great deal. If you do want to go that little bit extra and support me even more than that, I do have the Patreon and a little Jipper merch store too. And don't forget that you can join the Jipper Colony Discord to keep up to date with me and what I'm doing, as well as meeting a whole bunch of other little Jippers too. But yeah, that's it for this one, guys. Take care of yourselves, and peace. Just want to give a very big thank you to every single one of my current Patreon supporters. Anarchy, Dale from the Atlas Hub, Vogear, David D, Dead D Reza, Forgotten Stoner, Heath, Husband Vader, Exo, Joanne Zay, Johnny, Good Handed, Lukash M, Mac for a Day, Madeline J, Malin Dog, Mark F, Amras, Neil B, NTB, Ongrad, Autumn Long, Paul Lawson, Rasmus K, Legion 245, Shiraka Majelli, Samwise Gekji, The Golden Gek, The Portrait Dude, Todd C, Todd H, Ty the Blazer, Vanilla, and Wyo. You guys are the best. Thank you so much.